see. Now, would you do this deal for Trey Hendrickson? This is proposed by Tim Kawakami, SF Standard. And he's on the 49er Plus Minus pod. And he threw this around with our friend of the station, Matt Barrows. Here's what he proposes. He says, as you pointed out, Drapes, on Twitter, he mentioned, Tim Kawakami, that the 49ers love Trey Hendrickson. He's a guy that they've had their eye on for years. In fact, before Hendrickson signed with Cincinnati this offseason, some people thought, ooh, don't be surprised if the 49ers make a move for him. They did not. Would they now? Here's what Kawakami proposes. He says, here's the deal. You make it conditional. If San Francisco makes the playoffs and retains Hendrickson as a free agent, you make the trade, what do the Bengals get? If they make the playoffs and they retain him as a free agent, you give Cincinnati a first and a second.
Dang.
If San Francisco makes the playoffs, he doesn't re-sign, you give them a first.
Ooh.
If San Francisco misses the playoffs and he does not re-sign, they get a second. Would you do that? By the way, Matt Barrows, who knows the Niners really well, says, I don't think they'd do that.
No, I don't think so.
He says if they could get him for a second as a rental, they'd probably be very interested in that.
Well, think about it. He said you get him for a second if you miss the playoffs?
If you miss the playoffs and he does not re-sign with
And he does not re-sign. That's a lot to give up for a rental that didn't pay off for you. A second-round pick?
Mm-hmm.
For Kyle Shanahan, that's another kicker he might have been able to take. You know, he's not going to do that. You know, but seriously, a first and you like that?
Yeah,
a first and a second.
We don't talk about that anymore, Kyle.
I don't know if that's hefty.
That's a lot.
First and a second. If he,
I mean, a first alone is a
first
ton,
alone
right?
is a ton. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it because here's the thing: could you just sign him outright next year?
Maybe.
Theoretically, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I wouldn't give up all that. First and second. What was the first and second? If he makes he resigns.
Okay, you trade for him, and if you make the playoffs and you keep him as a free agent, then all right, Cincinnati, we're going to give you a first and a second.
Nah, that's way too expensive. You know, why not just go out there and draft a first-round defensive lineman?
You can't draft a Trey Hendrickson. I mean, he is really good.
No, he's really
but
good.
He's 30. He's also 30.
Right, he's 30, and you're going to have to pay him.
Yes.
You already got Bosa at what, 29, 30 million or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hendrickson wants a similar kind of deal. You're talking 60 million plus.
Yes. He probably won't get that kind of money because of his age, but he's obviously not going to work for free.
Right, exactly. I'm not doing that if I'm the Niners because there's no guarantee. I mean, especially now, could you play him and Bosa together on either ends?
Sure.
That'd be imposing.
Yeah.
That'd
be something, honestly, that your team would do. They're not going to, but that'd be the type of thing your team would do.
Yeah. First and second, though. That's I don't know.
Yeah. I know you already said yesterday, Jay, you're not interested in that kind of deal.
No. Just for all the reasons that you're talking about, age, money. I think Mykel Williams is going to be good. How good, we'll see.
Right.
Trey Hendrickson is definitely a known, we know what he is. He's a beast. But I'd wait on, if you just spent the high capital on Mykel Williams, I'll wait and see what he turns and develops into.
Yeah. Again, and you can look it up on the podcast yourself, but Matt Barrows, who knows the team very well, Tim Kawakami does also, but Matt Barrows is a daily beat writer. He thinks with the 49ers leaning more in the direction of, as you said yesterday, Drapes, trying to rein in some of the spending and trying to get younger, he just doesn't think they'd be interested in that. It would kind of be going in the opposite direction in which they currently are pursuing. But he does, again, Matt Barrows says, look, if they could get Trey Hendrickson for like a second rounder as a rental, he thinks they'd be very interested in
Matt
that.
Barrows thinks that,
Yeah.
You know, fellas, the conversation, and it's way too soon to have it because he's just on the surgery block. But don't we have to start to have a conversation about where Nick Bosa's going to start to return? Like, he's not 25.
I mean, you have to think about it. Like you said, you don't know, but this is the second time he's had ACL tear on this knee.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you assume that, he should be fine? I don't know. You have to talk to the what is his name? Dr. Elatrache or Riatache. I call him Dr. Riatache.
Very attaché.
But yeah, that's a fair question.
Don't we might have to start to have a conversation, and maybe I don't think it happens right now. I think you allow him to come back and see what he exactly is, but you got to start lining up for something after him too now.
Yeah, you got to at least you talk to the surgeon and then
How
did
did
it
it
go?
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be a while. Yeah, I think it's an open question though. It's something they got to be somewhat preparing for.
When you say have the conversation, what are we talking about?
Talking about maybe
Cutting them, or
Yeah.
Not now, but
I
next
don't
year
know.
when he
I mean, what do you
what's
do
the conversation?
if he just can't be Bosa anymore? What are you going to do about that?
Right.
What's your plan?
Right.
Yeah, and maybe the doc says, "Hey, he'll be fine," but I know clean tear again. It's a little trickier than it was the first time.
Yeah.
No one's trying to run him out of town, right?
No,
Jay? But it's just from a football standpoint, you have to think about that.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about the movement.
Yeah.
The young movement versus the wily veterans versus Super Bowl window versus how do we get younger and stay at the top of the NFC West.
Campia wants to know, is Henderson healthy? I believe he is healthy.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, regarding the Bosa situation, I see what Jay means. He's about to be 28, be 29. When he comes back, pretty much next season. At that cap hit too, you got to start.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so I think you give him the opportunity to see what he looks like when he comes back, but if he's not the same Bosa that we saw even these first 3 games, I guess you do have that conversation. You're still a ways away from that, though,
True,
right?
true.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you want to be prepared and have a better understanding of where you might be going versus next year? Like, I'm with you, Drapes. I think he is old and deserves an opportunity to come back next year and be all pro Bosa.
Yeah.
We're
And
going to
you
give
need
you that opportunity
Yeah.
and chance.
He deserves it, and you
Absolutely. He's performed at a high peak. He's not 40, by all means,
Right.
but the legs are starting to break on him a little bit.
That knee is getting up there in age. Yeah.
So, Michael Williams was chosen to kind of be the heir apparent or the guy that's across from him. But let's just say he comes back 75% Bosa. It's probably better than most. I think we can all agree to that. But one thing the 49ers do and Robert Saleh's defense, they depend on Bosa to make an impact.
Right.
Truly, truly do.
Mm-hmm. So they probably will ride it out with what they have in the short term and see if, as we said, Williams and Huff and even Gross Matos, can they come close to filling that void? Obviously, you don't have another Bosa, but can you get to the point where, no, the defense is still formidable as they were last week against Arizona, and then you don't have to do anything for a while, but you may have to not have to do anything. If you get to the deadline and you're feeling like, yeah, we like the way this is coming together, you don't have to make a deal, but you have the opportunity to wait a little bit, a couple games. Like if the Rams run you over, then you might have to rethink the whole thing.
I think to your point, though, when you look at this next stretch here, right now you're 3-0. Do you come out of this 4-2? How are you feeling? The record-wise says 4-2, but what does the eye test against Tampa Bay and the Rams? What does that tell you?
And if they beat you, how do they attack you?
Right, and how do they attack you? And are you just not in their league, so maybe you don't want to be buyers at this point? Maybe you say, you know what? This isn't our year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so I think, and maybe that's why, and I know it's still early in the week and everything, I haven't heard anything happening this week. I know they signed a guy to the practice squad. I think I saw earlier today. But it might be, like you said, Shanahan and Lynch saying, let's see how these next few weeks play out before we make a decision on this roster.
That's the prudent thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're nothing if not prudent for the most part. A couple of questions here in the